What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Take Talk Sports Podcast, back with another episode here. Today's video is going to be a quick one on the Euro 2020s and a bit of an intro to them because I recently made a video encouraging some people to try and watch football, and I think this is a great chance. So I wanted to give it a brief explanation and a few more points on why I think you should try and watch this. If you haven't watched football before, or if you have and you are interested and you don't quite know how this works. So basically what I'm going to do in this video, give a little introduction on how the tournament works and its format, some of the teams and favorite teams to watch if you're not sure who to look for. And then at the end, I will give some reasons as to why you should watch this tournament in particular. So first things first, how does the tournament work? Basically, how the Euros work is 24 teams, all obviously from Europe, qualified actually a year ago. Typically, it's a few months before the tournament, but obviously with COVID, everything moved around. So the teams qualified around a year ago. And what happens first in the tournament is there is a group stage. And essentially what that means is the 24 teams are divided into groups of four, and they play each other in those groups, three matches. Each team plays three matches. And then depending on how you perform in that group, the top three teams in each group move on. And the fourth place team in every group is eliminated and doesn't go on to the tournament stage. Now, this is a bit complicated. I'm not entirely sure why they do it, but four out of the six third place teams, because there are six groups, four out of the six move on and two get eliminated. And obviously that's based on how you performed in your groups. That's a bit complicated, but you don't really need to remember that. Basically what happens is after the group stage, that decides what teams are into the single elimination tournament. And obviously those teams do move on based on how they performed in the group stages. That's who will play who. It's very difficult to predict at this point, but basically that is how it will end up being. They get into the single elimination tournament, and then it's like any other tournament. It's like March Madness. They play each other. Whoever wins moves on. And obviously the intriguing thing about that is there are no draws. I know that's a drawback for some people who aren't necessarily into football yet and are a bit curious about it. There are no draws in the single elimination tournament. They'll go to extra time, and if it's still a draw at the end of extra time, they go to penalties. So that is always intriguing to know that there's going to be a full result at the end. And obviously, anything can happen in football. It's single elimination. It's going to be fun to watch no matter what. And all games are going to be, I believe, on ESPN, if not on another channel. I think all, if not most games, especially the big teams, will be on TV. So it will be easily accessible to anybody who wants to watch it. Now, the favorites and the teams to watch, if you're kind of getting into it and aren't quite sure, which games to watch, which ones will be the most exciting. And there are quite a few. I think every match will be exciting, but there are a few teams that are better than the rest. And a few teams who are generally very good and always very good nations, but not necessarily the favorites this year, are Germany, Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands. And all of those teams are always some of the best, in every World Cup and every competition. This year, they're slightly weaker in comparison to the favorites of the tournament, but they are still some of the best, and they're still comprised of some of the most skillful and talented players in the entire world. And obviously they're all playing on the same team, and I will get more into that a little bit later. But those four teams are some of the ones to watch, but there are four teams in particular. If you only want to watch one match or just want to try one and see what you like, look for one of these teams playing and choose that match. The first team is obviously Portugal. And if you don't know, that's the team that Ronaldo plays on. Many people know Ronaldo. Not many people have watched him. That is his team. And obviously, it is not just him. There are so many good players on this Portugal team. They're one of the deepest teams in the entire tournament, if not the deepest team in the entire tournament. So much top tier talent of players that are unbelievably good and skillful and quick and powerful. So Portugal is definitely a team that you want to look for if you're thinking about watching a match. Another team is England. Obviously, this is the team that I'm rooting for, and I think you should root for too. But what makes England a team to watch is they're very young and exciting. Most of the players on this England team are playing on England for the first time, if not having a major role for the first time. A lot of young superstars have emerged in this past season, and they're all coming and playing for England. And England, the order I'm saying these is actually a Bleacher Report ranking of these teams. So these are the top teams, and England is skillful and youthful and exciting and quick. And if you're interested in watching a match, look for one with England in it. The next team is Belgium. Now, this might be a little unusual if you don't watch football very often, but Belgium is the second. For a while, they were the most favored team. It recently became France, but basically the hype around Belgium is they are in their golden age of player, is what people are saying, because they've got so many excellent players and top tier players in the world. They've got probably the best midfielder in the world, one of the best strikers in the world, and every other position around them is a top quality player from top leagues all across the world, all in that Belgium team. So that Belgium team has a lot of hype around it. They're in their golden age, like I said before. So there's a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure on them, which is going to make them one of the teams to watch in this tournament. The first team and the first place team, if you haven't already guessed it, is France. And France is obviously the reigning World Cup champions, if you didn't know that. And they are just chock full of immense skill. If Portugal isn't the deepest team in the tournament, it's France. France is as deep as any of the other teams. They've got so many top tier players, so many top tier young players as well, young strikers, young goal scorers, skillful midfielders, but skillful defenders and goalkeepers. They're just chock full of the best players in the world. And obviously that's why they're number one. And obviously that's why they're a team to watch. So if you are thinking about watching a game, try and watch one with Portugal, England, Belgium, or France. Those are the teams you should look for if you're interested in finding an exciting game to watch. Why watch the Euros? If you're still kind of on the edge and you're like, I don't know, it still doesn't seem that interesting to me. I would definitely recommend watching this if you're curious about football. This is as good a time as any to get into football, because watching a club match, not only are they generally earlier in the morning, which I know can be hard for some people to get up to watch these games, but they are going to be some of the best football you'll watch and the most passionate football you'll watch. And this tournament only comes around once every 4 years, along with the World Cup. So it's a rare occasion. And if you are thinking about getting into it, this is your best chance. And what I'm going to compare it to is the best players on the world on one team. And it's almost like an all-star game. It is an all-star game. The only difference is it's competitive beyond belief. It's an all-star game in that every player on especially the teams that I listed earlier, are all probably the top player, one of the top players at their position in the world, all playing on the same team. So it's basically an all-star team, but obviously they're competing to the maximum degree because of that passion of an entire nation behind them, and they're representing that nation and the nation, and they're going to be crowds at this tournament. So there's going to be supporters, and there's this emotion at an all-time high, and there are always exciting results and matches in these tournaments. And like I said before, if you're not sure about watching football but you want to try it, definitely watch one of the games. Maybe not the group stage games if that still doesn't interest you, because it's not necessarily the biggest teams playing each other. But if a single elimination tournament comes around where you see one of those teams that I listed before playing another one of those teams that I listed before, definitely check it out, because I assure you it'll be one of the best football matches that you can watch. And they only come around once every 4 years. These Euros do, and it's a rare opportunity. And I definitely think you should check it out, because I assure you, if you were interested in watching it before, you will be after watching one of these matches. So that's it for me, guys. Like I said, just a quick video talking about the Euros and a little bit of an intro of how the tournament works with some of my favorite teams for you guys to watch. Of course, make sure you root for England. I'm just kidding. You can root for whoever you want, but they're all going to be exciting to watch. I hope you guys do indeed check out a match or two in this tournament, because I think it's going to be fantastic. And I'm glad you guys watched this video. If you have any recommendations or things you want to see in other videos, topics, sports, anything, please let me know in the comments. I would love to see what you guys have to say. Anyways, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.